We've known for years that we are an America divided, but these days the gap is widening, even among those who are supposed to be on the same side. With the Republicans, it's a war of words between Donald Trump and outgoing Republican Senator Bob Corker. After the president took to Twitter over the weekend claiming Corker begged him for an endorsement, Corker responded in kind with a tweet that likened the White House to an adult daycare center and then doubled down in an interview with the New York Times.
It's like he's doing The Apprentice or something, and you know, he's just putting on an act. Sometimes I feel like he's on a reality show of some kind, you know, when he's talking about these big foreign policy issues, and you know, he doesn't realize that, you know, that we could be heading towards World War III with the kind of comments that he's making.
Trump returned to Twitter, of course, with his response declaring the failing New York Times set little Bob Corker up by recording his conversation, was made to sound a fool, and that's what I'm dealing with. And never one to keep just one fight going at a time, Trump also decided to turn up the awkward factor with the Secretary of State, who multiple reports say called the president a bleeping moron over the summer. When asked about that by Forbes, Trump responded, "I guess we'll have to compare IQ tests, and I can tell you who's going to win." Honestly, I'd be curious. But Republicans are certainly not alone in dealing with uncomfortable topics these days, as many Democrats find themselves with a Harvey Weinstein problem. After the Times reported Thursday that Weinstein has settled at least 8 complaints of sexual harassment, many Dems took the donations they got from the since-ousted movie executive and gave them instead to women's groups. Not among them, however, are former President Barack Obama and presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. She did issue a statement this afternoon, 5 days after the initial report, saying she was, quote, shocked and appalled by the revelations. At the time of this taping, there's been no statement from Obama, whose daughter, as you probably know, interned with Weinstein's company. Join me now to discuss are Jessica Taco, Senior Vice President at Rasky Partners, and who has ties to both Vice President Pence and his family. Nice to see you, Jessica. Joan Vanocchi, columnist for the Boston Globe. Hey there, Joan. And Steve Kerrigan, President of the Massachusetts Military Heroes Fund, former Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor, is currently weighing a run for Congress in the 3rd District. Yes. Is that right? Yeah. Nice to see you. So explain to me, Jessica, how does anybody trust the president who's at war with his own Secretary of State, who apparently thinks he's a bleeping moron, and with the chief Republican on the Foreign Relations Committee, who thinks he's on the road to starting World War III? What's the average person at home supposed to think about Donald Trump and his infrastructure?
Well, the average person does not have any faith in Congress right now. I mean, the Senate's favorability is down 14% since Trump became the president, and nationally, only 10% of people think Congress is moving in the right direction.
Rex Tillerson's not in Congress. He was picked by the President of the United States to be Secretary of State. He apparently said that his boss is a bleeping moron. Does that not trouble you?
Well, at the end of the day, the focus has to be at the State Department, not on these types of issues, but on solving the massive amount of international issues in front of us. So you've got North Korea, Syria, Iran,
he undercut the Secretary
ISIS.
of State by saying that he shouldn't be talking to the North Koreans. That's a problem, too, isn't it?
Well, at the end of the day, those are issues that the president has to be able to address. And Tillerson works for Trump. So they have to be able to work together. For now.
Okay, here's the president responding to this whole World War III thing. This is Donald Trump. Listen up.
We were on the wrong path before. All you have to do is take a look. If you look over the last 25 years, through numerous administrations, we were on a path to a very big problem, a problem like this world has never seen. We're on the right path right now, believe me.
You know, believe me, he says there, you know, well, a lot of Democrats saying this is childish, this is scary, this is Trump being Trump. This is exactly the kind of thing Trump did as a candidate that caused him to be president of the United States rather than your candidate. Is that not true? That's what people bought.
Well, some people bought it, but it is.
Well, enough to get him elected president of the United States.
But I mean, his fundamental lack of understanding of the history of this country, or even the most recent past of this country, is staggering.
Well, what's
25 years we've been heading in the wrong direction. We've been heading toward non-proliferation for 25 years on the Korean Peninsula. We've worked it out with Iran, with the nuclear deal that, by the way, even though he says is not good, they are in compliance with that deal. President Obama worked tirelessly with our partners all around the world to make a more stable global community. Donald Trump destabilizes that community every day he's president.
Does it scare you when you hear this kind of thing? Not as a columnist, as a
human
citizen? Being, yeah.
Well, not really. I mean, because he is doing what he said he was going to do. He's the disruptor in chief. And, quite honestly, it's either Congress is going to step in and rein him in, or they're not. So by now, I don't know. I'm not shocked anymore by anything that he says.
Well, I didn't ask if you're shocked, but when that gets back to Corker, not only the World War III comment, and keep in mind, now he is leaving, which I think damages credibility to some degree. Why didn't he say this before? He also goes on, what's his line? It's only the generals and Rex Tillerson that stand between the American people and chaos. I mean, this guy probably knows as much about our foreign relationships as anybody other than Rex Tillerson and the President of the United States and the Vice President, right? That doesn't scare you either?
Well, so far, nothing bad has happened. I guess that would be, what I have to say. I mean, do I think it's the way I want the President of the United States to act? No, I don't. Do I want to keep on hearing him say that? No, I don't. But he keeps on doing it.
This internal war stuff, as I said before, you have a close relationship with the Pence family, I know, and that's when Steve Bannon endorsed a candidate against the Trump-Pence endorsed candidate, Luther Strange down there in Alabama. Roy Moore won, obviously, he's the nominee of the Republican Party. He is now apparently saying that Mike Pence, the guy you know quite well, was the wrong choice. This is the former key strategic advisor of the President of the United States, and a guy who is creating that circular firing squad I mentioned before. Doesn't that worry you when there's such division within the ranks of your own party?
I think it's a wake-up call for the Republican Party.
That
the American people gave them a mandate. They expected for Republicans to do something with health care. 92% of Republicans want us to have some reform in health care. They gave a mandate. They wanted tax reform. They wanted to have some sort of infrastructure package. And look at where we are. We haven't been able, after 54 times in the House, passing repeal of the health care, we've not been able to pass that yet.
That's the fundamental lack of leadership in the Republican Party. They've got both houses of Congress and the White House, and they can't get a bill declaring, that a stamp's price is 49 cents.
And this should be a wake-up call. The elections are coming in 2018. There are 8 seats open for Senate, 2 of which are Republican incumbents. We only have a two-seat margin.
But wait a second, if you're an objective... Sorry, John.
I mean, if the Republicans in Congress really believed that that's what the American people wanted, I think they would have repealed Obamacare. They know that that's not what the American people want, and that's why they haven't done it.
Well, 3 Republicans know that's not what the American people want. You would say Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and John McCain.
I would argue that the 3 gave cover to the rest of them.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it wasn't being done the way that they thought it should be doing. But that's,
can I get back
to because it's not being done.
If you're an independent person and it's midterm election time, and you've delivered on nothing, which I think is a likely outcome as the moment. Maybe there'll be something on that. There doesn't appear to be health care in the offing. They're nowhere on infrastructure. There's not even a bill. A lot of facts are not filled on tax reform. Why would an advocate for either side, why would that independent person ever vote for a Republican, whereas Steve said before they have all the power and they can't accomplish anything?
Well, that's where you're going to see usually in a normal year, you lose 20 seats on the incumbent's side in the House. So I think that's going to be a factor. But at the end of the day, they're going to be voting over what happens over the next probably 9 months.
And if they don't achieve anything, that's a problem. You would agree?
It's an absolute problem.
Can we switch gears to the other side of the ledger? Here is a tape of a sting operation done by the New York Police Department of the former liberal icon, filmmaker Harvey Weinstein. Here it is.
I'm telling you right now.
What do we have to do here?
Nothing. I'm going to take a shower. You sit there and have a drink. Water.
Don't drink. Can I stay on the bar?
No, you must come here now.
This is disgusting. I mean, it's so disgusting. And by the way, the numbers are piling up. There's a New Yorker piece that says no longer is it just sexual harassment claims settled, but rape. Some women are alleging. It took 5 days. 5 days for the nominee of your party to criticize Harvey Weinstein, who's given her a lot of money, who has a very close relationship. Is that not a problem?
What took 5 days? It is for me.
It is for you.
It is. I mean, look, the facts are, if when we found out about the settlements, and he himself acknowledged and stepped down from his company to take a break. In that moment, you didn't need to take any more time to do fact searching and try to figure out exactly. I mean, if a normal situation where there's an accusation, we didn't know all the facts, I'd understand the way.
Okay, so fine. So the Democrat who hears you and says, or the moderate, that independent again says, then you admit Democratic leadership is a fraud. Bill O'Reilly, they jump on it. Roger Ailes, they jump on it.
I wouldn't say
but they got to figure out what to do for 5 days.
No, what
I said
was I don't think that's right. But I don't think Democratic leadership is a fraud. I think a lot of Democrats stood up right at the beginning, as you said earlier in the segment.
But not the two highest
giving
profile ones, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Barack Obama hasn't said a word yet, nor is Michelle.
I'm waiting for someone to say that sexual harassment and predators like that is a bipartisan problem, okay? I mean, shouldn't be a Republican problem or a Democrat problem.
Well, it is when the Democrats don't...
20 years ago, we had Bill Clinton in office. He was reelected because his voters believed in his policy over his personal conduct. Now we have Trump in office, who has his own problems on the same score. People voted for him, women voted for him, because they liked his policy or his disruption theories or whatever over his personal conduct. So, I mean, for some reason, in 20 years, nothing has changed. People accept that kind of conduct. That's what has to change.
I'm totally with you.
Right?
And
the
by the
standard has to change.
President Trump said he wasn't surprised by this at all, and he said that his own thing when he was asked his locker room talk, it seems to me the reason he isn't surprised is because he knows exactly what Harvey Weinstein is talking about, because he's done it. Isn't that a fair statement?
I don't think that's a fair statement.
Not rape,
at all.
but sexual harassment.
There's not the same type of stories coming out about President Trump as you're seeing in volumes about Weinstein. But I think
talking about grabbing the genitalia of a woman.
If you talk about just these two individuals and Republicans and Democrats, I think you are missing the point that she made, and that is that 29% of women in the workforce believe that they're sexually harassed. Only 50% of those report it, and then 50% of those actually have something to be handled with it. So this is an opportunity where we could actually come together as Republicans and Democrats and talk about this type of an issue instead of focusing on Trump, Weinstein, and a lot of those other monsters, but focusing on the issue, on the awareness of those who enabled Weinstein to go on and do what he did that were males. It's a big issue in America that we should all be talking about and focusing on solutions.
I agree. Nice to see you, Jessica. Thanks so much. John, I'll see you at the IQ contest. Thanks so much. Nice to see you, Steve. Congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you very much.